What's up, guys? Mason the Brock Henderson here, and I love Elementary. It's a really good show. Couple things just to start off talking about. I talked about this a bit in the Blacklist review I just did. The previews for the show, brilliant. Some shows show a bit too much. A lot of movie trailers now, Batman v Superman, showed too much. And then some show just enough. Some show a good amount. Some show, a little bit not enough to really tell what it's going to be about. Elementary in the previews for this week hit the perfect note. The whole thing between Belle and Detective Belle and Joan. It's like, wait, what? They're together? That's what? Nothing about the case. And so, the previews for the week before did show a bit about the case, but it was all the stuff in the very beginning. When he says that the daughter's she's an imposter. That was in the previews, but he finds that out in the very beginning before they even do the whole, marble. Same thing for this. They have the whole thing where Holmes is clearly suspicious of Belle and Watson. Are they together? They show that in the previews, and that's at the very beginning of this one. And it's quickly just glossed over. Like, he realizes that they aren't sleeping together, that there's something else, and then finds out later about the detective or sergeant exam or whatever that Belle's taking. So I just wanted to point that out because not a lot of shows do that very well. Sometimes they'll give away one of the key moments of the show, or sometimes they'll give away like one of the things about, if it's like a criminal, whatever it's called, like a case show where having to solve a case. Sometimes they'll give away like key components of a case that you don't find out till midway through the episode. So you're just sitting there the whole time like, okay, when are they going to get to that part? So yeah, just want to talk about that really fast. On to the show itself. I talked about it last week. I'm going to talk about it again this week. This is the perfect show to just sit down, watch, and just try to figure it out. Try to solve whodunit. I love it. There's some shows that used to be really good about doing that, Bones one in particular, that have not recently. Recently, Bones have just been so, either so obvious or so blatantly out of nowhere that it's not even a good twist. It's nothing that even makes sense. It's like, yeah, I never thought of him, but it's not a good twist. It's like, oh yeah, he did it. Gotcha, didn't I? Well, yeah, but there was no indicator at all that would even be why. The motive was never talked about. That person was never talked about. It was out of nowhere. And anyway, I get talking about that, and I'm never gonna be able to stop because that show frustrates me now. Used to be one of my favorite shows. Anyway, the reason I'm just gonna go ahead and talk about this case, it could have been anybody, and I actually ended up getting the motive right, because from the beginning the OBGYN doctor was acting kind of suspicious, and I'm like, something's off about her. Like, she wasn't willing to talk about stuff that normally you'd be like, well, I mean, that's why wouldn't you want to talk about stuff? Some stuff, yeah, I can understand. You don't want to reveal too much. It can be a little bit personal. You've got ethics. You don't want to give away people's personal lives. That's fine. But it seemed like she was just not willing to talk about anything. And so that instantly put her as a suspect into my mind. I'm like, okay, something's up with her. Which, of course, she never shows up again, so I was off on her. But whenever I found out that the victim was the daughter of like a serial killer who was put in jail, I still suspected her, but I was like, maybe she killed her because she found out who she was and didn't want a baby with a grandpa serial killer. Some of that stuff can be genetic sometimes, and so maybe that's why. Because it was somebody she knew, maybe that's why she killed her. She knew about the pregnancy. She knew who she was, and that's why she did it. That is why the killer did it. It was to stop the bloodline. Just turns out it was her brother. That was that was pretty good. That was a good twist ending, and something that once you realize it, it's like, dang, like that's crazy. But the whole time, it could have been the OBGYN doctor. It could have been her husband. It could have been the guy she was having an affair with. It could have been her brother, or even the brother's wife. Like, she was acting a little bit weird. Um, so it could have, and even when they found out that the husband had beat up the guy that she was having an affair with, I'm like, but that, I still don't think it's either of them. Like, just something about them, the way they reacted to the pregnancy, was kind of like they didn't know. And I feel like the pregnancy did have something to do with it. Um, but yeah, so it was interesting to follow, interesting to take the clues that you know, take what's going on, take the new clues that are popping up in the show, and be like, it's elementary, my dear Watson. You see, she is the daughter of a serial killer. It is just, I don't know, it's so much fun to me to be able to just sit down and try to solve the case. And I really wish more of my family, or the friends that I have, I wish somebody would watch it so that way I could watch it with them and we could talk about it. Nobody watches the shows I watch. The only show that I'm able to watch with anybody, my mom and my brother watch The Walking Dead. That's it. All these other shows I watch by myself, and I get to talk about it in front of my laptop camera, and like 30 people view it. Nice. But that is one of the things I really do enjoy about this show, and I think it would probably be even more enjoyable if you could sit down and talk about it with other people. So anyway, I went on a little rant there. But yeah, that was, I mean, the case itself was very interesting, and kept it whodunit all the way up until the very end, until Sherlock finally figures out that her saying, oh my god, no, is talking about her nickname for her brother, whose name used to be Nolan. And once that was figured out, even then, like, I abandoned my motive theory for a second. It was like, maybe he didn't want her to tell anybody who their father was, and she was telling the guy she was having an affair with, she had told him and she was going to have him visit. It's like, maybe that's why. And then whenever he says, we promised we would keep the bloodline at us, I'm like, I was right at first. So anyway, done talking about that. Now, the case was very interesting. But one of the things that makes this show very unique is that it manages to keep the cases interesting while still managing, for the most part, except for like a little blip in season 2, to keep the personal lives of everybody involved interesting as well. I mean, Sherlock's dad coming in has been a huge part, and probably one of my favorite parts of the series so far. Just seeing him come in and deal with them, and they're, Sherlock's having to deal with his dad again, and Jones experiencing her own dealings with him. That's been fun. But in this episode, what's going on with Belle is very interesting. Because at first, is he sleeping with Joan? And then Sherlock is like, no, so that's not it, but you are lying for some reason. And then you find out what's going on with his mom, and it's just like, well, that sucks. And you find out he wants to be a sergeant, and Sherlock's like, yeah, that's great. I want you to achieve higher things. And in the end, Watson gives him a case for him to study for the test, and he's just like, this doesn't look like what's going to be on the test. And she's like, just trust me. You're going to need this. Finds out that it's a bail jumper that he helps track down. He gets the reward money, which should be $40,000, but Sherlock took 10% finder's fee. And he's just like, and Sherlock's just like, well, I know you're not going to take it, so it's going to your mother. I don't know, it just, the way they handled it was very well. They identified the problem, they talked about it a bit, and then they find the solution at the end. It's almost like a mystery in itself. Like, not necessarily getting clues to figure out who done it, but it is very much like solving a problem. Finding out what's wrong with whoever and then dealing with what's the best solution. I really do enjoy these characters and finding out what's going on with them. Shows like NCIS and Criminal Minds, it's not the cases themselves that are extremely interesting. I mean, sometimes they do have a very good one, um, but the characters themselves, the team that are solving these cases, generally are the reason that I watch the show, because I love the characters. I want to see more of these characters solving crimes and going through experiences and dealing with those experiences with them. Elementary finds a good mix of both. I mean, the cases are really good, and these characters are really good, and what they have to deal with makes sense, and you kind of get to experience what they're going through. And Bell, you understand why he does everything he does in this episode. Why he's not willing to go to Sherlock, because he doesn't want to have to talk to him. He knows Sherlock's going to try to help him, but even Sherlock admits, he's very proud and he doesn't want my help. He doesn't even want money. He doesn't. That could solve his problems, but he wants to solve it himself. And so, through their own little clever twist, they do help him solve it himself. They just give him a little nudge in the right direction. That's really good, and it totally fits with his character. And even though he does accept it, you can tell he's still not extremely happy about it, just because I think he is that type of character who's like, I wanted to do this by myself, but I mean it'll help my mother, so I guess it'll work for me. That's the type of reaction he has, and that's who he is. So I really do enjoy these characters and what they're dealing with, and kind of figuring out what the solution is for their problems. No matter how illogical it might seem at times, for the most part, they do have good solutions for their problems. So I really do enjoy this show, and this episode is another good one, coming off of last week, which was also a very good mystery, with a little bit less personal stuff going on in the background, but still some good stuff. This show just really captures it all, and if you're watching this and you know people that don't watch Elementary, go tell them to watch it, because this is a really good show and deserves more attention than I think it's really getting right now. I mean, it's Sherlock Holmes in modern day. People love Sherlock Holmes. It's fun to watch him work. So that's my opinion on this episode. Really excited to see just how many more episodes they can do like this, where they just have a good case, have good personal stuff going on behind it, and just really tie it all together very well, and just keep me coming back for more. So that's my opinion. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. Do you agree, disagree with me? Am I completely wrong that the show's good? I'm not, but you can try to convince me. Good luck. Yeah. Just comment down below. What do you think? What do you like or dislike about the show? Leave a like and subscribe if you want to see more Elementary content. Check out my other videos. Review a lot of TV shows. So, and like I said, I'm lonely when it comes to TV shows. So, yeah. Anyway, see you in the next review. Peace out.